on, everyone? Back for another NBA video. We are looking at the 4-game slate for Wednesday. 1:30 start once again. The same 4 teams that we had on this slate from 2 days ago, so that's going to be how it is, I think, the entire playoffs, or at least the first round. We'll get the same teams over and over again, which I think you can use to your advantage because people are just going to continue to play the players that went off the game before. So you can kind of use it. There's going to be a lot more ownership on certain guys that just because they had a good game the last time like the first game. So let's get started here. As always, appreciate the like on the video and subscribe if you have not already. Starting off here at point guard, we have Luka Doncic at 11,000. He got a little bit of a bump with Porzingis leaving after he got thrown out for a very ticky-tack foul, and then he was able to shoot a lot more and had like more usage without Porzingis out there. Still put up a very good game, 65 fantasy points. He had 11 turnovers, which really hurt them, obviously, and hindered his stat line a little bit. But still, 65 fantasy points at 11K. You're going to take that. You have Donovan Mitchell's price has jumped to 9,200. He had a best game of his young career with 57 real-life points. He did most of that work in the second quarters to overtime, as he only had 2 points scored in the first quarter. So very nice for Donovan Mitchell to kind of get the job done later in the game. Now, he's probably going to be a little bit more popular today because people see 81 fantasy points. They see 43 minutes. That game did go into overtime. And Mitchell, I think he had like a couple buckets at least in overtime. So I am definitely not expecting Mitchell to score 50-plus real-life points again. He also had one of his most efficient shooting games, 57%. On the season, he's shooting 45%. He's shooting 36% from 3. So take some of those numbers down. I mean, you could definitely see him shoot 30 times again, but I'm definitely not expecting him to score that many points or even get close to that. Also, he had a bunch of rebounds and assists, something that he does not do very often and very consistently. Like, usually he's a scorer and he doesn't get you. You get your handful of rebounds, handful of assists, but he flirted with a triple-double there. Now, the usage rate is going to be a lot higher without Conley and all that stuff, but I do not think I want to pay 92 for Mitchell today, especially if he gets like a lot of ownership because of his game 1. You have a couple of guys that look decent here, like Van Fleet price tag is up to 76. Now he's another guy that might get more ownership because people see 60. He had one of his best shooting games ever. 8 of 10 from 3, 11 of 15 from the floor, 11 assists. So the Raptors, they're all healthy. There's so many guys that can go off on any day with Van Fleet, Lowry, Siakam. Could see Ibaka have a good game off the bench. We know Nick Nurse loves to throw these guys and run them into the ground, so you could see 40 minutes from Van Fleet again. But do not project him to shoot that well again. And the price tag is up. I'd rather play Jamal Murray instead of Van Fleet. I'd rather probably play Kemba, save $800. Kemba's going to be without now. The Celtics are without Gordon Hayward for 4 weeks at least. Kemba was not that good in the first game. 7 of 16, played 35 minutes, which was encouraging. Now, without Gordon Hayward, everybody gets a little bit of bump out. I like playing the Celtics. Whenever they miss one of the 4 of Kemba, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, or Gordon Hayward, the other 3 really pick up the slack. So I could definitely see playing multiple Celtics. And Kemba at 6,800 is definitely on the list. And then for some cheaper options, Clarkson is now 4,700. That's a fine price tag. You can play him. You don't have to play him, but he can still pay that off. Burks plays 4,600. He and Shake Milton kind of split some of the minutes at point guard and shooting guard. He played 28 minutes off the bench, looked great. He kind of saw a lot of the fourth quarter run, almost all the fourth quarter minutes, as he was playing pretty well, and the Sixers did have a lead at a time in the fourth. But 46 for Burks. The starter is cheaper than him at Shake Milton at 45. I like Milton a little bit more on Fanduel at his 3,900 price, but he's a guy that's probably going to see like 25 minutes as a floor, and then if he's playing really well, he'll get the fourth quarter minutes. He did not play very much in the fourth quarter because Alec Burks was playing well, and he kind of stole some of his minutes. But if he's playing well, I could definitely see him push for like 30 minutes, and if Burks is struggling, then Brett Brown is probably just going to go with who has a hot hand. So, and the Sixers, they ran a very tight rotation in that first game. Basically, 7 guys played. Then you got 2 minutes from Mike Scott, which is nothing. So basically, 7-man rotation for Brett Brown, which means that you're going to see a lot of like minutes for guys like Milton, Josh Richardson, Tobias, Embiid. So probably good chance at least 1 or 2 of them have a good game. And then you have even more cheap plays at point guard, so you do not have to pay all the way up if you don't want to. You have a near min price, Patrick Beverley, 3,500. Good to see him back out there after he missed the last 5 seeding games. Played 20 minutes. Probably he was also in some foul trouble with 5 fouls. They're probably going to want his defense out there. I see him probably getting you around 25 minutes a game. And going forward, if he's not in foul trouble or anything like that, he's averaging 26 minutes on the year. And the Clippers are a little bit deeper now, but he's definitely much better of an option than Reggie Jackson for defensive purposes. And he can still shoot a little bit, especially the 3. So Beverly looks like a decent option at 35. And you could look at and that's kind of it. I think nobody else looks decent at point guard. Seeing where Seth Curry is, he's only shooting guard eligible. Seth Curry's 3,600 as shooting guard. We'll touch on him, but point guard, I think you can go with Patrick Beverley at 35. Could be one of the better point per dollar plays on the slate. Moving on to shooting guard, you have Donovan Mitchell, LeVert. LeVert's $1,000 cheaper. He just had 15 assists, which was awesome. So now that he's starting at point guard, the assist numbers are going to be there. He has 15 and 13 assists in 2 out of 3 games. Played 35 minutes. The game kind of got out of hand in the 4th, so lost a couple minutes there, but you expect LeVert to play 35 to 38 minutes going forward. And he's probably going to shoot a lot better than 5 of 14. He's also super active, gets rebounds as well. So LeVert looks like a really good play at 8,200 as the number 1 scoring option on the team. Jaylen Brown looks good as well, 75. No, Gordon Hayward's going to help him. He played 39 minutes. Brad Stevens also played Jaylen Brown and Tatum and a ton of minutes, especially after Hayward went down. I mean, that was in the 4th, so still they got a ton of run. Brown looks fine at 75. Not sure if he'll get a lot of ownership because he is a little bit expensive, but whenever the Celtics are missing one of those guys, like I mentioned, I like to target some of the other ones. Smart is fine. He probably will start now. He's 5,600. He's going to be playing alongside Kemba and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, so not going to get a ton of shots off. And if his shot's not falling, you're going to need him to have a huge outlier game in blocks and assists. Ingles looks decent at 56. The minutes are going to be there. This matchup is, they've played them 5 times this year or 4 times. Ingles has been decent. Could be a decent option at 5,600. Nothing wrong with Ingles. And then Garrett Temple, guy I'll touch on. He's 4,600, so the price tag did not move by much, just by $200. Played 34 minutes. He was probably on pace to play 37, 38 if the game was a bit closer. Also had 5 fouls, and he also was just terrible, so he didn't deserve the minutes. TLC off the bench played much better than him, but just shot 1 of 10 from 3. Still managed to put up 21 fantasy points and only made 33% of his shots. So he's gonna shoot more. He's a guy that you expect to bounce back. He's a good 3-point shooter on the season. He's only shooting 32%, which is pretty bad, but for his career, he's always been at least a decent 3-point shooter. If he makes a couple more threes, even if he makes half of his shots, you're looking at almost 6x return. So I don't mind going back to him because I don't think a lot of people will. And then Seth Curry at 3,600. He came off the bench, but still saw good minutes. The Mavs also ran a very tight rotation. Expect around 30 minutes out of Curry. They're going to need some of his scoring to keep up with the Clippers scoring, especially with Leonard and George. So Curry's been having a great season shooting. Don't expect that's going to disappear all of a sudden. And Thibault played a lot of minutes off the bench to defend Brown and Tatum. But he's in there for defensive purposes. He's not in there for his shooting. He can shoot and make an open 3, but he's not going to be shooting 10 plus times, so I don't feel great about going with him at 3,400. Moving on to small forward, you have Kawhi and Luka. Kawhi, I need 60 fantasy points. He got the job done first game, putting you right at 60 fantasy points. 12 rebounds, 6 assists. You can go back to him if you want. Nothing wrong with Leonard. I prefer Tatum a bit cheaper, 9K, save $1,000. Gets a nice bump in usage. Played 41 minutes in regulation, which was awesome, and it was really just aggressive, and he's been doing this all year, scoring and getting rebounds. So Tatum looks like a good option. Have Tobias, I think he's okay at 77. If I am playing anybody on the Sixers, it will be Joel Embiid, though, at least on Draftkings. And then for cheap options, you have Temple if you want to go back to him. I mean, I'm sure he's going to have a better shooting game. And Royce O'Neal is 3,700. He lost minutes because of foul trouble at 5 fouls. Played 32 minutes, so he saw more minutes for Jawan Morgan. But if he wasn't in foul trouble, he was going to push for like 37, 38. Probably, I don't even know if he played in the overtime period because he was in foul trouble, but he's a guy that he can get the job done. Like, he's not super consistent, but he's shown many times this year, especially when they're shorthanded, that he plays big minutes. He can shoot the three, he can get rebounds, so I think he looks fine at 3,700. They're going to need his size and defense out there, and if he's not in foul trouble, he's going to get the minutes. Power forward, Tatum looks like tremendous option at 9K. Favorite power forward option to pay up for. You have Michael Porter at 7,000. He lost some minutes because in the fourth, he didn't play any of the overtime either. He lost minutes in the fourth because the Jazz were targeting him defensively. So we know Mike Malone. If Porter is struggling offensively, then he's just going to take him out because he's not a great defender right now. But if he's shooting well, he'll get the minutes. So he's a bit of a riskier play. But the Nuggets do have other guys they can play at power forward with on the bench with Jeremy Grant and Paul Millsap can play more minutes. You have Jeremy Grant at 4,600. He's going to play probably 30 plus minutes, and he's only 4,600. He could be a good option today. You had DFS Dorian Finney-Smith, decent option. Paul Millsap is only 43. That looks fine. And that's kind of it at power forward. Moving on to center, it's Embiid or Jokic to pay up for. I am going to go with Embiid at 99 because he played 37 minutes in the first game. Get 37 minutes out of Embiid, you're normally going to get like well over 60 fantasy points. The Celtics, they played Embiid a lot last season in the playoffs, and they always play 4 times a year. So they kind of know like how to stop him at times. I mean, he still has a huge mismatch over whoever they play at center against him, or whether it's Tice or they try to go small, or even if they double team him, still has some advantage. He can kick out to open shots. Only had 1 assist, but Embiid is a guy that can just explode. And on a slate where you don't have a ton of guys to pay up for, minus Luka and Harden, I think Embiid looks like a great option. And then at guard, I think Seth Curry is fine as a value play. He's only 3,600. He's going to get the minutes off the bench. Maybe he'll start because he played well. And Maxi Kleber didn't do much. But expect him to be like in the closing lineup. I don't think they'll close with Kleber. So 3,600 for Curry. Get the extra bonuses on Draftkings for 3 points made. Basically, just going to hope that he can have a very good shooting game and scoring game because he's not going to get you many rebounds with Porzingis and Luka in there. He's not going to get you many assists just because he doesn't have the ball in his hands. He's like a catch and shoot guy. But I like the price point on him, and I think he definitely can pay off that salary. So that's the 6 that I like so far on DraftKings for today. And let's move over to Fanduel. All right, over on Fanduel, point guard, you have like 3 legitimate options if you want to pay up for them. It's Lowry, Jamal Murray, and Kemba Walker, and then the position really dies off. So I think with so many other studs being at some of the other spots, that you can go cheap at point guard and just hope that neither one of Lowry, Murray, or Kemba Walker breaks the slate. If you want to pay up for like power forward, you have 2 guys that can drop 60 plus. Center, you have like 2 guys that can drop 60 plus. Small forward, you have a bunch of options to pay up for. Shooting guard is loaded once again, so point guard, you could take a shot and go with some cheap plays and hope that they return you like, even if they get you like 25, 30 fantasy points, and like Murray and Kemba and Lowry, they only get you like 30s or low 40s. I think it could work out, so if I was going to pay for anybody up here, it probably would be for Kemba at just 6,900. But the value plays at point guard, you have Curry, Patrick Beverly, Jake Millen is only 3,900. Monty Morris going to get good minutes as well without Harris and Will Barton. So I think Jake Millen looks fine at point guard on FanDuel 3,900. Not sure if he'll get a ton of love because people just see the 14, 13, and 19 in his last 3 games. But Sixers, like I mentioned, they only play 7 guys legitimately. Mike Scott played 2 minutes. Doesn't really count. Milton can shoot. He's a good 3-point shooter. He made 5 of 7 shots in the game 1. And he can get you a little bit more assists. Only had 3 assists, but usually the ball is not going to be in his hands too much. But he's a point guard right now without Simmons. If he's playing much better than Burks, he's going to get the minutes over Burks. So you got to hope that he plays well and Burks kind of struggles so that he can push for like 30 plus minutes. But his floor is still like 24 at least 25 minutes, and I think he can be like a decent play at just because point guard isn't super deep and he's almost min price. At shooting guard, you have Luka at 10.5. You have Donovan Mitchell and LeVert. I think Fanduel, you're gonna have to hope that LeVert can outscore Mitchell because I expect Mitchell to be maybe double the ownership of LeVert, or at least like 20% higher probably in ownership, 15-20%. I would probably hope that LeVert has a better all-around game. Mitchell is so much better at scoring, but LeVert will get you more assists, more rebounds on a typical basis than Mitchell. So I'll go with LeVert at 8,400 and just hope that Mitchell doesn't go crazy once again. But no problem. You can maybe even try to play both of them if you want. Besides Mitchell, you have very expensive Fred VanVleet. I'm not going there. You have Marcus Smart is decent, but not super interesting. And then for people below 5,000, you have Josh Richardson. Could be okay. And then you could look at Burks if you think he's going to play well again. Burks or Garrett Temple. I think is fine. Or maybe TLC if you want some more risk in your life. Small forward, it's Tobias Harris, 72. It's Pascal and Kawhi and even Jaylen Brown at 7K. I think I like Brown the most based on this price tag, and then Siakam, then Kawhi, then Tobias. And then you also have the two Joes, similar prices, Joe Ingles, Joe Harris. I think Ingles will be a little bit more popular today, but both are pretty much the same. Both project similarly. I think, and that's kind of it. I'm not going with Thibault, not going me. Maybe you could look at Finney Smith, but not really there. I will go with Jaylen Brown at 7K. Power forward, Jason Tatum is 8,700, really nice price point. He's gone off many times this season, especially in like big games. Against the Sixers, he can go off. They don't really have a matchup for him. Horford, they try to put Horford on him, and he saw what he did in the first game. He can also get you a bunch of rebounds because the Celtics play small. So he looks like a great option today, especially without Gordon Hayward. More usage for him. Porzingis looks great. Those are the two guys with the most upside. And then you have Michael Porter. 67 is decent. Then you could look at like Jeremy Grant, 4,700. Royce O'Neal, 4,400 as some cheaper options. But I will be paying up for Jason Tatum. And then at center, Jokic and Embiid, same price tag. Similar kind of ceiling, but I think Embiid, more times than not, will outscore Jokic if they're given the same amount of minutes. And I expect both to play around like 37 minutes. Embiid at 9,300 only had he had 3 stocks, put up 50 FanDuel points. He can definitely score more than 26 points. He can get you like 16 rebounds was awesome, but also had 5 turnovers, which wasn't great. But overall, Embiid looks like the best spend up on the slate. So that's kind of it for the video. It's been a little bit longer, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and good luck today.